Hey there, I'm Greg Finn.
And I'm Jess Budd.
And it is officially Marketing O'Clock here on February 8th, 2019. Remember, you can catch our famous Friday news shows each and every Friday morning.
And follow along with us in our show notes. Just head over to marketingoclock.com for all the links from today's articles.
And first up this week is a change in campaign budget optimization migration on Facebook. And what Facebook is doing is allowing the campaigns to control all of the budget. And this is going to be moving away from being able to set specific budgets at the ad set level. And that was one of the biggest differentiators between other digital ad platforms like Google Ads or Bing Ads, where Facebook, you could have a budget at a campaign level and a budget at an ad set level. No longer, as of September 2019, they're taking that away, and the rationale is that Facebook gave us is to help you spend your budget more effectively, removing the budget to the campaign level. Again, starting in September 2019, eligible accounts have received this notice and will begin using campaign budget optimization for new and existing campaigns come September. So this is important if you were trying to segment like your spend and use ad sets to do so. It comes September, that's not going to be the case. So you're going to have to kind of do it more like traditional, like a Google Ads, where you set all those budgetary requirements at the campaign level.
Yeah, and I like it better that way. I've kind of been doing that already with some of my campaigns since the ability to do it even came out. But something that they didn't talk about in this article, and I don't know if it's going to be the case, but it is now. If you set a campaign level budget, you have to set it at a certain minimum, I guess, or put a certain number of dollars in there to make room for all of those ad groups. And they don't really tell you what that is. It's just if you don't meet it, you get an error message and they're like, hey, you need to put more money in your budget because of all these ad groups, or get rid of some of your ad groups. So I don't know if that's going to continue, but just something to look out for, of course, if it does.
Yeah, and this could be really beneficial so that you don't have to try to be so nitty gritty with that budget and the ad set level. But we just did a ton of training here at Cypress North, and we're like, this is why ad sets are so powerful, because you can make one big campaign and have all these little ad sets. Not anymore.
Not anymore. Now you're just going to have a bunch of campaigns.
Bunch of campaigns, just like Google. All right, what's up next, Jess?
All right, up next also comes from Facebook. They are introducing, or have introduced, household income targeting based on U.S. zip code averages. So what does this mean? Well,
that's pretty cool, because we used to have all this income targeting back in the day. Obviously, everybody heard about Cambridge Analytica, data nastiness, and it was all taken away. So this sounds really great.
It does sound really great. And I used to love that income targeting. I actually had good reason to use it for some clients. This is a little bit different, though. It's not going to specify those actual income ranges that we had before. It's still a type of demographic targeting if you go in there to set it up. But what it is groups, I guess, if you will, or percentiles. You get the top, I don't know if I use that word right, percentiles.
Yeah, percentiles.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, good. Look at that. Math. So you can look at where a user's household income falls basically compared against other people in their same zip code. So the top 5%, top 10%, I think it goes then like 25 to 50 or top 50 plus. There's only 4 or 5 ranges, and you can see the link in the show notes outlines exactly what those are. But I kind of like this. I mean, it's a good workaround. We didn't have any income targeting after they took that away. So I think it's nice. And it, again, obviously, cares for people's privacy. And Facebook assured us that, this all came from publicly available information. So I don't know. It's something we can use.
Cool. But it should be noted, this is not income-based targeting anymore.
Yes.
It is definitely not what we used to have. And so if anybody turns that back on, it's like, oh, this is now performing significantly less. It's because it's not the same thing whatsoever.
Good point.
Okay. And next up, we've got another Facebook story. And this comes from TechCrunch. And it is pretty important for us advertisers out there. And it is the title of the story from Josh Constantine is Facebook will reveal who uploaded your contact info for ad targeting. We've seen a lot of this in the past, where after this data hullabaloo that we talked about before, we've seen the ability for us to see ads from competitors or any Facebook page out there, just see what's going on. We can now see as a user of Facebook why we're being targeted. And so you better make sure you're playing nice and not being naughty with the way that you are targeting. Because starting February 28th, you're going to see a why am I seeing this button for the ad that is delivered to you. And when you look at that, you'll be able to say that the Facebook page specifically is targeting you or it wants to reach and target you. And you can click through and see who it is specifically. Or if a certain partner had a list, they're going to be able to see the partner name. Or if a partner shared a list with an agency or something along those lines, you'll be able to see every single piece of the targeting as to why you are seeing the ad on Facebook. So this is a big deal. And just when you thought there was nothing else left, you'll also see other layers on top of it. So that's one of the things we talk about here internally is why Facebook advertising is so important, is because you can basically use interest layers or demographic layers or now zip code, household income layers. But you'll be able to say that not only is a partner targeting this, but we're targeting you because you are on this list that a partner shared, and they're going after people 25 and older that live in the United States. You're going to be able to see like, oh yeah, the demographic element of that as well. Yeah, you better make sure that you're not doing anything naughty.
Yeah.
Because it's all going to come to light on February 28th.
Yeah. And I think, if you ever get served a competitor's ad, there's a sneaky angle here too. You can see what types of targeting they might be using that somehow you got in there. So it could be good for research on our side too. But yeah, if your stuff isn't tight and clean and completely uncontroversial, you better get it there by the end of this month.
Yeah, you got 20 days. The clock is ticking. So cool.
Man. All right. We just did 3 Facebook stories in a row.
Yeah, all news.
Something else.
Yeah, let's go. That brings us to this week's lightning round.
First up, more ways to drive results with TrueView for Action. This comes in via Google's Help Center. So if you have TrueView for Action campaigns running, you can now use maximize conversion bidding, which is very exciting for people that like to get as many conversions as possible within their budget. I think that's probably most of us. But again, with anything, don't just turn this on blindly and let it go. Obviously you want to test and watch and see how it performs. I've actually had this type of bidding backfire on me, and CPA has been better in some cases. So test it. Don't just turn it on.
Yep, and this is for TrueView ads. So the ads are played before, during, or after a video, and they're skippable after 5 seconds. And the action is where you have the title and you actually have that CTA show up. Yep. So that is something great. And to Jess's point, maximized conversions can be really good, or it can be terrible. But if you've got it in and dialed in, it could be a big boon for you, the YouTube advertiser. All right, next up is a Twitter update from I think he's head of product, Stephen Johns over at YouTube. And he has tweeted out that the YouTube Mastheads, basically the big takeover of the YouTube.com or the app, is going from a CPD, which is cost per day, to a CPM basis. So it's going to allow more folks to get in there and try to, again, take up some market share. So if you're a big baller and you've got some budget, give that a shot. And if you are really trying to make a splash around something, you can own the homepage of YouTube. I never understood why that was like such a big deal, unless you're just like some huge branding play.
Yeah, or like a movie that's coming out. If you want everyone to know the movie's really coming out, you just blast it everywhere.
It's really coming out. This time it's coming.
Yeah, get yourself a masthead. I hate that word, masthead. It should have been on my list in Shooting the Heck last week when we were talking about words we don't like. I don't like it. It just sounds like a growth on a ship or like a zit or something.
I think it's a part of a ship, right?
Is it?
I think it's like the biggest sail, the masthead.
That makes sense as to why the ad unit is called that. Then.
Yes. Or, it's the biggest zit on a face. One of the two.
That's what I'm saying. That's what grosses me out. I don't like it anyway, but it's available. It's probably very powerful for advertisers. Okay. Alphabet, if you didn't know this, is Google's parent company. So yes, there's somebody even bigger than Google out there. They have reported their 2018 Q4 numbers. And according to the headline, Google cost per click declined 29%. So that's almost 30% year over year. But meanwhile, cost per impression is actually up 7%, which I thought was interesting that they would go in the opposite way. But there's a lot of other stats in this article too. We won't read them all. If you're interested in Google's revenue or anything like that, or excuse me, Alphabet's revenue for the year, you can check the article out.
This is also another example of how like a statistic can be taken any different direction. Like if you're an investor, you might be like, oh my gosh, down 29%. Google's got so much more inventory.
That's true.
And when you're talking about display network and you're on, mobile, you got mobile ads running, it's going to fall. That's what we see. But at the end of the day, even for advertisers, who cares? It's all about what shakes out at the end. So just because the CPC dropped, there's so many more places that ads can show.
Yes. And they did say in general that growth was up. So, I mean, that's what growth is going up. But yeah, just because the CPC is actually down, the actual platform is up.
Oh, growth on the old masthead. Okay. And next up, there are 230 new emojis that made the final list for 2019. And this is from Emojipedia. And many of the new emojis that are slated to be potentially making it into the cut is, and I think that they made it, right? The final made it.
That's what it sounds like. They're in there.
They're in there.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are positive towards like, hey, let's have some inclusivity. Let's include people that might have some disabilities and things like that. And you can see the full list. If you head over to our show notes, Jess, what were your top 3 favorite emojis in 2019 here?
I don't think that these are just 2019s, but I just have top 3 favorite emojis ever.
Oh, you're not the 2019?
No, I mean, because it's the full list. So I went for everything. I don't know. I went with Sparkle because I like the Sparkle. The Black Heart, I don't know if that was 2018 or 2019.
Okay.
Do you know? I don't know. Because it wasn't an emoji for a while. And we used Slack here in the office and we had made it a custom emoji. And I don't know if it had to have been 2018 that it came out. So I was super into that. And then I like the woman like tipping her hand.
Okay. Those are all old emojis.
Those are old. That's what
my favorite of the new batch of emojis, first off, I like what's called the ringed planet.
Ringed planet?
It's Saturn. It's Saturn. It's a picture of Saturn, but the emoji name is the ringed planet.
Well, maybe they think people don't know what Saturn is.
Technically, Uranus has a ring, but it goes on its side, and it's very small.
There's a
and this
joke
is
there.
not Uranus and the ringed planet emoji. My next new favorite emoji was the otter. It's just chilling. I don't know if you saw it. It's just it's a lounging otter.
That's how they float, right?
I don't know. I don't know.
I think.
I don't know. Science. They might know. The last one I liked that was new, the axe. I'm a big axe guy. Not like the spray, but like the tool.
There should be an emoji for axe spray.
Oh, no,
really.
I wouldn't like that.
There should.
Okay, so out of the new batch, did you have any that you liked the least?
Ice Cube. It's probably unnecessary.
It was a very it was uncomfortably sweaty Ice Cube. I don't know what is happening with this Ice Cube.
It beats the poop emoji, which is my all-time least favorite emoji.
My least favorite, and we put this on our site, the drop of blood. It is the grossest looking drop of blood ever. It looks like a melted Hershey Kiss. It's disgusting. I don't know what you're doing with this drop of blood.
There's a syringe already, though, with blood in it and a drop coming out of it. So you compare those nicely.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a couple of weird ones. So you mix, there's a razor now and an axe and a drop of blood. I don't know.
Maybe
what's going on.
Getting ready for Halloween.
Oh, yeah. A couple months early.
I don't know.
All right.
We got all of 2019 here.
We'll check it out and let us know which of the 230 is your favorite.
Yeah. Use them all this year. New Year's resolution. Okay, next up. YouTube is experimenting with solutions for de-weaponizing the dislike button on videos.
Speaking of weapons, razors, and axes, I didn't know that a downvote is a weapon. That seems really crazy to say that we're de-weaponizing somebody that says that they didn't like a video.
Yeah, but so this comes from 9 to 5 Google, and I definitely shout out to them for that awesome headline because that is like eye-catching news, right? But apparently this is a thing, and I'm a good person, so I had never heard of this before, but there are people out there forming what they call dislike mobs, and they just flood a video and intentionally sabotage it, and everybody just dislikes something. So that's the weapon part, I guess. Anyway, YouTube doesn't like that that's happening. They feel bad for their creators, and they're trying to combat this. So they've come up with some ideas. Again, you should read the article for all of the details on what they're talking about. I don't think anything's official yet, but really some of their ideas have to do with changing the interface itself to deter people. Like if you click the dislike button, they want you to write in why you dislike a video, which I think is really funny. Who's going to take the time to do that?
Some videos are just bad.
Yeah, right.
You know, like I've seen videos like, oh, this is just bad.
It's just, but really, like how many videos on YouTube have you ever disliked?
Not many, but when something's inaccurate or wrong, like I understand people might be like, oh my gosh, it's a weapon. How dare you, hurt the feelings of this creator. No, some people do have really bad videos and say things that are wrong and could actually be detrimental. And the one thing that I think would be a real negative is if at some point they took away the downvote. Because I look at these videos, and especially if you're doing something like DIY or something that you're trying to learn, it's good to know if people think this video sucks and if there's downvotes towards it. So I love the downvote button. I don't use it a ton, but when something's wrong, I absolutely will.
That's fair. And I think it's interesting too, because they've noted that their algorithm is not smart enough to get around these mobs. If you will, so that's where they should make the changes, right? Fix that somehow.
For every mention of artificial intelligence and machine learning, you can't get around a dislike mob.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Agreed.
It seems very, very easy. Like you just say, look at number of dislikes. Is it disproportional ratio to the average time unit? If so, let's take these and let's get rid of them. Doesn't seem that hard. Doesn't even seem like you need machine learning.
Yeah.
Seems like just common sense.
Seems like human learning. I mean, Greg just figured it out, so I hope YouTube is listening.
All right. But please don't get rid of the dislike button.
I don't think they plan to. Didn't seem like it yet.
We'll see. Mark my words. February 8th, 2019.
Wow. Ice cube emoji.
Ice cube emoji. Sweaty one. All right. Next up is a best practices article on your optimization score that comes directly from Google. And Google has, in Google Ads, they have an optimization score that allows you to try to do better with your account. Many times it'll make you do worse. Just a little warning there. But they've come up with 3 different best practices. And spoiler alert, I'm going to tell you this right now very quickly. In the article, they tell you to manage your account more efficiently by prioritizing your actions, to apply recommendations that support your business goals, and to analyze the recommendations on your own terms. All common sense stuff. So really not that much to see there. If you use those optimizations, good for you. Just make sure that they actually work. That's the most important one. The last one is analyzing those recommendations on your own terms.
Yeah. Thank you, Google. Okay. Speaking of thank you, Google, something cool new coming for hotels. On Google My Business, you can now add check-in and check-out times to your Google My Business listing. Again, only if you're a hotel, but who else really needs that? So that makes sense. I personally love this because I'm always sitting in the... I had thought that hotels used to put their checkout time on the back of the door, like with the map to the fire escape. And I've been in several hotels recently that didn't have that. I've had to sift through FAQs on websites or call the front desk.
I think they put their check-in and check-out times, they put it right on the 13th floor.
Ah, that explains it because I can never get there. So I don't get that information. But yeah, no, it's cool now. You can just Google when you need to get out of bed.
Oh, it's really just the 14th floor. That's a throwback to a previous episode.
Falling down elevators, right? We talked about
absolutely.
that. Absolutely. Man, good times.
Cool. Yeah, I think that's super helpful. And then another thing that may be less helpful on Facebook is that Snopes is pulling out of its fact-checking partnership. Back in 2017, Snopes got a whopping $100,000 for partnering with Facebook, and they had tried to downrank some of the hoaxes. Basically, we talked about this last week, but Facebook has created that oversight board for content decisions where there's full-time people seeing what should stay and what should go. So that may play into it. But the other thing is that Snopes is in this huge legal battle. I thought that at one point they lost their domain, but there's this whole thing going on. They're not, I don't know. I don't want to say anything that Snopes is going to fact check me on, but I think there's a little turmoil there over at Snopes, and they are now no longer a partner as of today.
Well, if you have anything to say, you say it on Facebook. They won't check you. Next up, Spotify announces strategic acquisitions to accelerate growth in podcasting. So they announced this week that they're acquiring Gimlet, which is an independent producer of podcast content, and Anchor, which is a platform for podcast creation, publishing, and monetization.
And Anchor has gotten a lot of popularity recently. We use Anchor just to publish this podcast that you're listening to right now. So that should be a huge benefit. The thing that I thought was a little bit more interesting is with Gimlet, they're going into the content side.
Yeah.
Gimlet makes really, really, really well-produced podcasts. And then they get like really just into their own they podcast about the podcast setting up. It's like totally inside baseball, and they'll talk about like the business of setting up their company, and maybe they're gonna have an episode on being acquired by Spotify here. But yeah, I think that is very interesting to see. And then the other thing that Anchor has is they have the ability to monetize your podcast. So to see what Spotify can do with their current ad platforms, if they can roll that out into podcasts specifically, it could be really, really cool for them to just instantly start owning some ad space on podcasts.
Amen. And you can hear us on Spotify too, in case you didn't know that, everybody.
Absolutely. All right. And next up, no surprise, clicks plummet when images, article info stripped from news results in the search engine results pages. And in case you haven't been following along what's going on overseas in the EU, there are two articles that are threatening the way that many folks may do business. There's Article 11 that grants newspapers copyright over headlines and news snippets and require folks like Google News to pay media companies a link tax in order to share those articles. And there's Article 13 that basically will look for any user-generated content to make sure there's no intellectual property violations. And again, an example might be that you're listening to something and you hear the Rolling Stones in the background, and it wasn't properly compensated for. So Google did a test and said, well, what is this going to look like? What are the results going to look like? Oh my gosh, if I can't show the actual article names. And it looked pretty bad, but I actually didn't mind it.
What?
The look of it?
Yeah.
I didn't mind it.
It looked like 1995.
I like that. I'm old school. I liked it. But there were no images in the news articles. And it's also the fact that, yeah, if you couldn't show that stuff, it wouldn't look like that. They're just being drama. They're just trying to start a little drama over there.
But I like that. I appreciate how sassy Google and even YouTube, which is a part of Google, have been in their kind of resistance to all the stuff that's happening over in Europe. I love it.
Yeah. And so basically they took out all the images that are standard in news listings. And then it looked pretty poor because you just be like, well, this is the Daily Telegraph, and you didn't see any of the article name. And this is one thing that bothers. These are the little things that bother me, where they said all versions of the experiment resulted in substantial traffic loss to news publishers. No data. Even a moderate version of the experiment, which showed the publication title, URL, and video thumbnail, led to a 45% reduction in traffic to news publishers. I want to know the data on everything.
Yeah.
I want to know what the difference is.
Yeah.
You got to give me, if you're saying this is a big deal and you're trying to make a case, show me the data on it. Because then news publishers might actually get behind you, but just saying a substantial loss in traffic, I want to see numbers.
That's fair. That's a fair question.
But anyway, if you want to see what it may look like if Article 13 and Article 11 pass over in the EU, check out the show notes and you can see that ghost SERP as it kind of looks like. The one that I like. I like that one.
They called it a naked SERP too, didn't they, in the article, I think?
I don't want to get an explicit tag here, so I will not comment on that.
Yeah, I would love to know if people like it like you do, because I thought it was crazy. It just looked like it didn't load. Anyway, next up. Buying and selling followers and likes is ruled illegal in a precedent-setting case. I don't know if this comes as a surprise to anybody, but people are out there buying and selling followers and likes, and they can't. It is now officially illegal here in the US. So if you're doing this, obviously you should stop ASAP. And if you purchased fake followers in the past, it's probably a good time to purge your account before the government comes and shuts you down or sends you a strongly worded letter at the very least.
Of all the things plaguing our society, the one thing that's going to be illegal is buying followers.
Yeah.
That is astounding
Yeah.
that could hypothetically be the case where it's illegal to buy people to follow. Like, you're giving somebody money. You're like, somebody's making money. You're employing somebody for some stupid vain Finsta number.
But you're lying to people, which
you're
is
not lying to
also
people.
not
These
illegal,
accounts
right?
are following you.
Yeah,
That
that's
should be
true.
on the social networks themselves to
Well,
make sure you can't have fake accounts.
That's true. And I don't want to toot my own horn here, but I have a public Instagram profile and I have fake followers for days for free. I didn't have to pay for any of them. And they send me little spammy comments and sometimes I like them and comment back.
Hang on. I'm going to get the sheriff on the blower and turn you in here.
I didn't do anything wrong.
We'll see. We'll see. All right. Next up, we have the fact that Google Webmasters is allowing you to consolidate your web traffic on canonical URLs. This is a little bit deep into the woods, but basically in your Search Console performance report, Google had reported on multiple versions of a link, and with a proper canonical tag, now it's going to show the final version of that. So if you're canonicalizing an AMP page, it's going to be much cleaner because it'll canonicalize and show up in your Search Console as a non-AMP page. Again, for people using AMP or an MDOT site, this is going to be huge. And even if, again, you're just canonicalizing something else out there, it's going to show the final version of it and not split it between the two.
That's wonderful.
Absolutely.
Great. Speaking of wonderful, I don't know if this is wonderful, but it's pretty genius. Facebook is splitting the word sponsored to bypass ad blockers. Some smarty pants Redditor pointed this out. They were looking at Facebook's code and the word sponsored was broken up and spelled out in pieces in different classes. So again, likely intentional to avoid having sponsored content blocked. I mean, this is technically shady, and for every good thing that Facebook does every week, they also do something kind of iffy, and I'm done keeping score. But as a marketer, I like this.
I love it. It's so creative. I think there's somebody else that, I don't quote me on this, it was either Pinterest or Quora that was doing the same thing. But yeah, break it up. Like if your ad blocker is dumb enough to just look at something that says sponsored and get rid of anything in that class, yeah, break it up and put it in all different ways. I love it. It's creative. It's still not illegal. You're just making it harder on other folks. Yeah. Good. That means you're doing something innovative. And for us advertisers, yeah, maybe more people are seeing our ads.
Right? I think it's a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And ad blockers get smarter.
Yeah. Call us evil, but we're taking Facebook's side on that one.
Okay. Next up, Google Play Store is now open for progressive web apps. Web apps that are on just the domain and can also be used on a phone and are responsive across every size. And it's called PWA, and apparently you can get something like a swoosh.app, and it can be an app that works on a browser, and then apparently you can just put it now into the Google Play Store. So if you have a progressive web app, you can have a swoosh.app that you can go to, or just turn it into its own app. There's a link on Medium on how to do that. Seems pretty advanced, but check it out.
Wild times in the App Store.
All right, and that brings us to this week's WTH.
W.
T.
H.
All right, and this week is an article from Vox called For Sale, Instagram account, lightly used.
That's cute.
And people are buying and flipping Insta accounts, which is technically against terms of service. This was in the WTH because of how in-depth it is.
Yeah.
And like how many interviews they had, how this is so much of a thing, and how there's middlemen or that might be problematic. Maybe middle people.
Middle folks.
Middle folks. I like that.
Yeah.
That are helping to do this. And then the other thing that is crazy is just some of the numbers that these people are giving away.
Dude. Go on. Okay.
So one of the people that had been interviewed first in the story by Vox said that he posted an Instagram account that had 25,000 followers, and he listed it for $30. $30. That's crazy. And then it seemed like they started interviewing some more and more upcoming players in the Finsta selling community there. But basically, if you have an account from 50,000 to 100,000 followers, it'll sell for $500 to $1,000. And then you could, if you sell it right, you could buy it at that price and flip it. It's crazy. It just seems like it's like this asset that people are, leveraging and selling.
Yeah. And it's crazy because I think most of the people, if not all that they interviewed, were in their early 20s. So they're out there being these little internet entrepreneurs. I'm starting to feel really old and not savvy, but they're like, not only are they doing this, they're buying and selling, but then they're buying it and flipping it and selling it again. Like, our generation's out there flipping houses and doing real work on real estate. And these kids are just turning and burning Instagram accounts. And it's wild to me.
Have you ever sold a social account?
No, but I should sell mine because, as you know, I have several fake followers.
Yeah, before you go to jail.
Yeah, $31, guys.
I have.
The bidding. You have?
Yes, a Twitter account.
Really?
Yes. Oh, I've sold a few actually, but yeah, because yeah, really good ones and decent money too. And it is like a really shady business trying to do that because the minute you give somebody their credentials, then they've got it. And so you need these like middlemen. It's so weird. But but yeah, I only did some stuff on Twitter.
But like how long ago was that?
A few years ago.
You are a man ahead of the times, Greg.
Yeah.
These people just figured it out now in 2019.
But it's crazy. And then another thing that I liked was just a silly sentence in the article was apparently one of the people, they didn't want to be identified by name, so went by his a rapper name, I believe. And so his rapper name is Ace Looney. And so the sentence is, what Ace Looney's mentor taught him wasn't just how to find buyers through Instagram DMs and Facebook pages, but how to buy low and sell high. Flipping an Instagram account like one might a piece of real estate. It's like, what do you learned it to buy low and sell high?
I feel like my grandparents told me that when I was like 2. That's just knowledge.
It's one of those things like humans come out of the womb and you're just like, that's what you know.
Yeah. Well,
right?
Not Ace Looney.
Not Ace Looney.
Send him to the Ace Looney bin.
Oh, wow.
I don't know.
Yeah. Mentor taught him that. So, all right. That was an interesting one. And it is quite the read if you feel like doing it.
Yeah.
And this brings us to this week's Cool Tool.
Cool Tool. And this one, it's a tool that already exists, but it's an important update to a tool that we all know and love. That is Moz. The title of the article is A New Domain Authority is Coming Soon. What's changing, when, and why? So if this is something that you rely on or look at or use at all for any sites you might be doing organic work on, we encourage you to read the whole article. For those of you that don't know, Domain Authority is a search engine ranking score developed by Moz that predicts how well a website will rank on the SERPs.
And the key phrasing there is developed by Moz. And this is something Google has said is not technically a ranking factor, but obviously there are some good correlations with having an authoritative domain.
Yes, and they are trying to make it correlate even more now with the changes that Google's making in their algorithm. So that's where this comes from. They did say in the article that the way the score will be determined from here forward is going to be a little bit more nuanced. They're going to try and have a better understanding of what sites are actually about and be better at detecting manipulation of things like links. So again, trying to keep up with the changes that Google are making. So Moz claims with this update that the metric will become more trustworthy than ever. Of course, I mean, I hope so. That's why you're making these changes. And we'll continue to keep up with the changes Google's making. I've said that 7 times already.
Have you ever heard anybody say, we've made this update so that the product is worse?
No, of course not.
That's the thing that drives me crazy. Every time you see like an iPhone release, like the newest iPhone is the best iPhone ever. It's like, dude, you had an extra year. I hope it's better. You're up there on stage. What, are you going to tell me it's worse?
No.
Okay.
I know. Yeah, I think it's just about hype. But yeah, obviously, if you're trying to improve something, that's what you're trying to do is improve something. So I don't know.
And so there is a little bit of controversy around the domain authority. And Google used to have what was called PageRank or PR, and people would use this to try to sell links from their own site and be like, I've got a PR 8, I've got a PR 9. And then people now have been like, I've got a DA of 30 to 40, and this is how much a link costs.
Oh, that's out of 100.
Out of 100, yes. And this isn't a metric, again, that is recognized by Google as a ranking factor. But it is something where, to me, I like looking at everything. And the more data, the better. And the more trends, the better. And if you're trending upward on something like this, it can be important. But it is not something that you should hang your hat on at all by any means. And then on Search Engine Land, Barry Schwartz put out an article, and there was a lot of feedback that he posted from a poll. And you can kind of get the full community thought on this as well. Here's some of the good, here's some of the bad. And then Russ Jones from Moz had made some comments and talked about how they're fighting spam, just to your point earlier. So check that out. And again, it is new and improved, and it should be better if you did use domain authority before and found it helpful for you. Yeah,
and it's coming officially, they said March 5th. So definitely check. I mean, you should be checking every day if you're using this tool, but check it. If there's a little bit of fluctuations around that time, you will know why.
Great. And that brings us to this week's must-read marketing article of the week, an article so in-depth, so detailed that we simply cannot cover it here on the show in its entirety. And this week's article is from Backlinko's Brian Dean, and it's called Introducing the SEO Marketing Hub, a free library of SEO resources. Say SEO one more time in there, that might help. But basically, Brian Dean has put together some of the best content, I think, over the past, 3 years, 4 years maybe, in the search space. And he does really, really detailed, I think he calls them skyscraper pieces. And he kind of taken all of these different pieces out there and turned them into this really nice hub. So if you are somebody that's at an agency or is trying to share or just increase your overall learning, check out this SEO marketing hub, just the hub.
The hub.
And there's 7 core topics you can look at: SEO fundamentals, content optimization strategies, technical SEO, link building techniques, user experience signals, and SEO tools and software. And lastly, advanced SEO strategies. And I haven't seen a piece of content that was bad over at Backlinko. So definitely something to bookmark and keep in your file. All right.
All right.
Thank you, Brian.
That does it for today's show.
It is now officially not Marketing O'Clock.
Remember, you can catch everything from the show on marketingoclock.com and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode.
And we will see you next week.